Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. I have with me today Roshan Siddiqa AHMAD, who is the consultant on equality, diversity and gender empowerment, and obviously is a Muslim lady. Siddiqa, before the break, we were talking about empowering Muslim women. You mentioned that you were one of the advisors or Muslim advisors for Muslim women with Hazel Blairs, who was at that time the Secretary for
Department of Communities and Local Government.
That's right. Can I ask you, what achievement do you think Hazel Blairs managed to obtain along with your hard work for Muslim women?
Yes. Well, I think the first step that she took was actually involved women in the process from the Muslim communities. So the Muslim Women's Advisory Group were made up of 24 women from across the Muslim nations. So it wasn't just Asian women, it was actually Arabic women, African women, as well as Asian women who were Muslims. So that's the first step.
So 24 Muslim women?
Yeah.
Okay,
were on this group, and we were obviously invited to go and visit Whitehall. We went to the House of Parliament, we met with other ministers and the Prime Minister. The launch was at 10 Downing Street. So that's first of all, elevating women into the public eye, who were all Muslims, and also showing the diversity of the Muslim community, because I think one of the things that people fail to recognise is that we're made up of quite a melting pot of diasporas within the Muslim community.
Yes.
So that was the first step. And then once we were formed, the women on the group were asked what would actually benefit women out there if government wanted to do something to give Muslim women a voice and a standing in society. And that started, so we had developed a program which had 3 elements to it. The first element was to actually create a national roadshow for Muslim role models in each region in the country. The one in Manchester was held at the Town Hall, hosted by Val Stevens, who was the deputy leader at the time. And there were women from Muslim communities all across Manchester and the Greater Manchester who had roles such as university lecturers, police women, writers, journalists, fashion editors, doctors, and people like myself, working within the public sector, and Adiba Malik, who is also one of our Muslim sisters, but she's from Bradford, but she's also very well connected with the community and government as well, and she has an OBE. So these were the kind of women that were role modelled. And then in the second strand, it was looking at developing the civic participation of Muslim women across the country. So one of the things that we did was actually support them through a program where they could learn to have more confidence dealing with the media, making applications to access board membership and school governorship. And then there was a program which was also involving Paula Uddin, who's Baroness Uddin and from a Bangladeshi background and a Muslim, obviously. She was part of that program to help Muslim women into Parliament. How do you access, whether it's local authority councillor roles, and how do you access, opportunities to be able to become a parliamentary candidate? And through that program, one of the MPs that we have from the Bangladeshi community, actually, I believe Roshanara Ali, benefited from that, And there are other MPs from the Pakistani community in Birmingham, for example. There's a lady which I can't remember her name of, but she's also an MP. So that helped, develop and promote women's access into the public sphere, where they can voice their needs based on Islamic needs as well as the society's needs. And the third element was to have a group of scholars who were headed by the University of Oxford University to look at the role of women in society through through the writings of Islamic scholars. So that was a really good publication that was released as well.
Female scholars or?
No, the scholars that were involved in the network were mainly men. But it was to look at the role of Muslim women in society through the Islamic eye.
Okay. You just mentioned the political side of things. From what you're saying, the assumption I'd like to make is that there is no ceiling for women in achievement in the UK. How would you address that? How would you word that?
Well, I don't believe that there is no ceiling. I think there has always been a ceiling because we live in a patriarchal society, and as we all know, power is not given, it has to be taken, and I don't think any of you guys would like to give it up that easily.
Okay.
So obviously there's always going to be issues about how do you get past a certain point.
Yes.
However, in terms of accessing any profession, any
That's what I'm
sector,
talking about, yes.
that is there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're Muslim, Hindu, or it's up to you, really. I think the barriers are not created by others, they're created by ourselves and our own fears.
Right.
If we let go of those, and hopefully you don't have somebody that beats you up, then that should be possible.
Okay. So do you think that an ordinary woman, an ordinary girl, say 18, 19-year-old woman in Longside, for instance, can achieve within a few years to be sitting in Parliament as a Muslim MP just by following the work done by his peers and yourselves, or do you think it's still way out there and the girl who does that is going to be a maverick, is going to be somebody who's making inroads into this?
I truly believe that there are no barriers to young women. If they really believe it, I think there are enough people who will support them through that. I think, to be honest, the maverick nature comes more from our community rather than the external community. I think you're more likely to be seen as I'm seen as a strange maverick, I suppose. You know, coming from a Bangladeshi community, growing up in the 70s as I did, you know, most people thought I was very strange. You know, doing what I did, going off to university, getting a degree, doing a PhD. So the maverick nature comes from our own community, you know, in terms of a label.
Yes.
The label doesn't come from the external community. They're actually quite glad to see girls of all, you know, persuasions, whether they're Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, to go out there and do what they, you know, what they feel they can achieve.
You know, we were talking about International Women's Day. As far as I can tell, to date, there have been very few Muslim women honoured in the honours list yearly. Is that being addressed in any way, do you think?
Part of it has to be addressed by ourselves, because these honours actually are presented by to people who have been nominated by someone.
Right.
And if people don't nominate our own women to be given those honours,
this is what I'm guessing at. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's why I mentioned this, because what I would like you to, honestly, is look into one of the cameras, or just look at me, doesn't matter, but actually say that we want our women nominated and we've got to do it. So away you go.
Okay, here we go. Here's I would like to say that if you would like to see your daughter or your wife or your relative who's a Muslim woman being honoured by the Queen's honours list, please do make sure that you put in a nomination on their behalf. If they have done something that you feel deserves recognition, it is up to us, all of us, to nominate the people that we know within our own communities. Thank you.
Well said. Okay, because I think it's very important, and I think we need to address this imbalance, because Jewish women or other religious women from other religious communities are honoured every year, and Muslim women are left behind. And I think the achievements that our women have in our community are enormous, but they're being unheralded.
It's up to you to start, AFTAB.
I'm starting. That's why I'm sitting here, and I think my views will tell you. Every program that I can get the opportunity, I always speak about women, about empowering them, bring them forward, making them equal as possible, and the fact that we want women in this society to be part of the society, not be standing on the outside looking in, but be actually on the inside looking out. So we are directing ourselves where we want to go, not being told where we're going to go. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And one thing I'd like to also say to all of my fellow Muslim sisters out there, that if you do make it, whether it's in the public sphere or the private sphere, don't forget the rest of us. You know, because once you're there, you know, don't pull up the ladder.
Absolutely, that's what happens with men as well.
Yes,
well, absolutely happens that as soon as they achieve, then we're left behind. But going on from there, let's talk about you as a person. We've talked about your professional side, we've talked about your political side, we've talked about International Women's Day and your role in that. Siddiqa Ahmed, what are you doing personally for women?
Okay, now, we mentioned at the beginning that I'm a founder of Breaking the Cycle UK. So in terms of the international sphere, my heritage is Bangladeshi. I come from a family of 6 girls and 2 brothers.
Explain Break the Cycle first. What we'll talk about that.
Well, Breaking the Cycle, I'm doing that together.
Right, okay.
And that's one of the reason why I founded Breaking the Cycle is because I'm from a family of 6 girls and 2 boys, where all of the 6 girls are professionals. So coming from a Muslim family with a father who was a religious follower, practicing Muslim, encouraging us to become this, you see. So when it came to Breaking the Cycle UK, what I felt was that we were in a position of privilege here, and having visited Bangladesh on a number of occasions and working in the equality and diversity sphere, I understand that 45% dropout rate exists when it comes to secondary school education in developing countries. So in Bangladesh, that's something that is no different. And the reason for this is in the primary school sphere, the government actually pays for education. So once you've qualified there and you need to go to secondary school at the age of 12, generally, that's when the problems happen, because then if your family are disadvantaged financially, then you are not always given that opportunity to go. And it's not, and I don't believe I would like to particularly vilify our Bangladeshi community in Bangladesh. Sometimes if you haven't got the money and you don't live in a welfare state, then the boys are given the advantages because they're seen as the welfare
breadwinners of the future.
Yeah, of the future. Welfare providers of the future. And the girls are seen as going to another family, by marriage. So I thought that what we need to do is look at
we're going to spend all this money in educating, and they're just going to go somewhere else and be a benefit to them, not to us.
This is the perception.
Yes.
But anyway, I don't agree. So basically I thought, well, what we need to look at is how much does it actually cost?
I don't agree either, by the way.
Yeah, good. I will talk about that in a minute. I thought, what can we do to actually change some of that? And so I started off with Sylhet, which is my country of origin, region of origin. I was actually born in Sylhet, so for all those Sylheti Muslims out there, Assalamu alaikum balasin. And then I thought, well, what we need to do is look at how much it costs and then see what we can do about it. So I went over to Bangladesh and I spoke to a number of schools. I talked with an NGO that works with schools. I talked to the Education Minister, Nurul Islam Mahid, who is still the Education Minister. And we talked about the possibilities of somebody like me going out and trying to do something. And as far as the Education Minister was concerned, he said, well, whatever anybody does is a change for the better. So that was good. And then when I went to Sylhet and I spoke to the communities and the parents and the school teachers and the media, actually, they were all like, it's fantastic that somebody, one of our girls who've grown up in the UK has thought about how to help support the girls here. We were very privileged and proud, because I was a little bit scared they'd be thinking,
obviously, yes.
But it wasn't that way. And for £10 a month, you can actually help a girl through their secondary school education. So they get their books, their tiffin, their exam fees and their tuition fees. So, and basically we started off with 10 girls in 2012, which was the 10th anniversary of my father's death, which is when I launched it as a memorial time for him. We had 10 girls, and most of those donors were my family. To now, we'll have 80 girls in 2015, just in 2 years. In the third year, we'll have 80. And that's primarily due to some of the success stories I've been able to share on Facebook and Twitter, etc., and to the donors that are working with me, to show that one of my girls actually graduated and she got 9 A pluses in all of her subjects from her GCSE level. How many of us can say that? And we've had a privileged education.
Absolutely.
And we have families that have supported us and given us tuition. That girl, her parents are just like small shop workers. They're not educated, but the daughter's now got 9 A pluses.
Yes.
And what's great about my donors is that donor who supported her is continuing her support through her sixth form so she can carry on going to college.
MashaAllah.
So, because she was so impressed with the actual results.
Well, the girls of today are the mothers of tomorrow. So if they are educated themselves, then they can only raise the level of education of their own children.
Of the future prime ministers.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
doctors and barristers.
Absolutely. So your charity works in Bangladesh, and as you said, in that 2015 you should have 80 girls. Where are you collecting the money from now?
From individual and corporate donors. I mean, I have a really large donor at the moment who just came on this year, 30 girls for 4 years.
Wow.
A company in Manchester actually who also works in Bangladesh. They're called JD Williams. I don't know if you know them.
Yes.
And then the rest of them are actually, the majority are individual donors, mainly colleagues and friends that I have familiarity with and who know me and my work, and are trying to support that.
How easy was it for you to form this charity? Why I'm saying that is because I am trying to sort of get this across to other women that they too can do something like this.
Well, it would be great if women like myself, who are in a position to be able to go out to Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, in other regions, in Bangladesh there's 160 million people, so there's no shortage of people to support this. It would be great. And what I would say is that I would say it was kind of easy for me. But that's because I have worked in all the different sectors. I had the connections and networks in Bangladesh as well as here. Because I came from Bangladesh, I can speak the language. So when I went to speak to people, I could speak in Sylheti. So when I did a presentation about why I wanted to do this work around Breaking the Cycle UK's mission, I had to present it in Sylheti. So I had a lovely PowerPoint presentation all written in English.
I think that's not our problem. Most of our women are very fluent in their own languages, and I think it's being suppressed. The language side of it, because they're using it professionally.
I'm just saying that it's helpful.
Yes.
And then having the networks, obviously, I went back to the region where I came from, so I had family support there.
Well, I think that even the Holy Quran says that first it's your kunba and then kurba, means nearest and dearest. So you start with the nearest and dearest and work your way out. So, I mean, from that point of view, you did the right thing.
And then having worked in, central government and regional government and the local authority level, I also have connections with people here that I can, ask support, advice and guidance to. So that gave me the help. So if anybody out there would like to do what I've done, I'm always happy to be able to, provide that support for people.
Well, I hope that you get flooded with calls and visitors, and that you are forced to prepare a booklet which shows people how to set up an NGO or whatever for women, or for doesn't matter who, but mostly for women, because one of the things that comes through is that there's a big gap between educated women, obviously, and people who are living in the suburbs, or I can say not the suburbs, but even I'm talking about in the rural areas. And I think it's incumbent upon women today to help their womenfolk, bring them up as well, because as we said before, they are the mothers of tomorrow. They are the base of the prime ministers and whoever tomorrow. So I think it's very important that women should be educated.
And I'd like to actually see more people in the indigenous countries, because when I visited Dhaka is a very cosmopolitan city. It has more millionaires probably than Manchester. And yet people there are not necessarily taking note of the people on their own doorstep. And I think it shouldn't have to take myself to go to Bangladesh to do this. And I'm sure it's the same in Pakistan, India, etc. So that would be also something people should note, really.
Well, I honestly feel that we here, because I can categorically tell you about this, about Pakistan, that the economy in Pakistan is flourishing because of revenue we send from here. If the British Pakistanis stop sending money to Pakistan, I think we become bankrupt within maybe a month or so, 2 months. Okay? So if that applies, then I think we've got economic power here. And if women in this country were to get together in groups and force their way, I'm using the word force intellectually, not if they were to sort of empower the way to government agencies, like we've got the High Commission on Dickinson Road for Pakistan here, there's one in Bangladesh, all the different nations. I think if they were to come forward, they would force these government agencies to act on their behalf in our countries, and that would be for the good. Siddiq Ahmed, before we close, is there a message you'd like to give to women who are listening today?
I'd like to encourage all women from all nations, obviously Muslim women in this case, but every woman from every faith, to actively participate in society and have a say in their own future and in the future of their children, whether they're girls or boys. As I say, either of them could be the future Prime Minister or the United Nations leader, etc. So do that.
Very good. Roshan, Siddiq Ahmed, thank you for today.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking about women's role in the UK.
Thank you.
And I hope that my sisters out there have gained some impetus and want to work and make life hell for people like Siddiqa by coming forward and making it so busy that she is working day and night to bring everybody else up to scratch. Interfaith Dialogue comes to a close today, and until next week, new topic, same place, same time with AFTAB. Till then, Khuda Hafiz.